Rejected again. The rain was cold on Zyra's skin. She stood outside the employment hall on Planet Vorkal, holding her baby close to her chest. Her tentacles trembled, not from fear, but from exhaustion. She had been to 5 job offices already, today, and every door had been slammed in her face. Her baby whimpered softly, wrapping tiny hands around her arm. Zyra looked down and whispered, "It's okay, little one. Mama's trying." She stepped inside the large metallic building. Inside there were rows of glass booths, each with an alien employer waiting to interview applicants. A tall, thin robot with glowing blue eyes stood at the entrance. "Name and purpose," it said in a flat voice. "Zyra Velan," she replied. "I'm here to find work." The robot scanned her ID chip and led her to a waiting booth. She sat down. Her baby squirmed gently in the sling across her chest. Soon, a 4-eyed alien with sharp claws stepped into the booth and read her file. He muttered, frowning. "Single mother? You were once a military translator but left your post?" Zyra nodded. "Yes, after my partner died in battle. I had no choice." The alien tossed her file on the table. "Too much risk. What if your child gets sick during a shift? I need workers who won't cry or leave early. Next." Zyra felt the familiar sting in her chest. She stood and moved to the next booth. The next employer didn't even sit down. You smell of weakness," the alien said with a cruel grin. "Try the trash collectors. Maybe they'll take you." Tears filled Zyra's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She walked out of the booth slowly, her head high. Her baby had fallen asleep. She kissed his forehead. Outside the building, the sky had darkened. Storm clouds rolled in. Zyra stood under a broken awning, trying to keep the baby dry. She didn't have credits for a hover cab. Her legs ached, her heart even more. Suddenly, a group of alien teens passed by. One pointed at her. "Look, it's the worthless one. Maybe if she gave away the kid, she'd get a job." They laughed and walked away. Zyra closed her eyes. That's when she heard footsteps, heavy, slow. Not like the others. She turned and saw a figure in a dark coat, tall and strange. His skin was smooth and pale. 2 eyes, no horns, no tail. A human. He stopped a few feet away, looking at her with curious eyes. "You looking for work?" he asked gently. Zyra blinked. "Yes, but no one will hire me," he nodded slowly. "Yeah, I figured. This planet isn't too kind to single mom or to kindness." He looked at her baby, then back at her. "My name's Jack. I run a small machine repair shop down in the lower district. I could use a helper. It's not glamorous. You'll get dirty, but I pay fairly." Zyra stared at him, not sure if this was real. "Why would you hire me? You don't know me." Jack shrugged. "Because everyone deserves a shot and you look like you won't give up." Tears slipped from Zyra's eyes now. She couldn't stop them. "I'll try my best," she whispered. "I believe you," he said with a small smile. "Come on, let's get you two somewhere dry." As she followed him through the rain, her heart beat faster, not just from hope, but from fear. Why would a human, someone she had never met, trust her when her own kind never did? Was it a trick, or was this the beginning of something she never thought she'd have again? A second chance. The first day on the job, Zyra stood outside the human's workshop, holding her child in one arm and a small bag in the other. The shop looked old, its walls scratched by time and its lights flickering above the rusted door. A broken sign read, "Jack's Mech Repair, all species welcome." She wasn't sure if the words were true, but Jack, the human, had smiled at her like he meant it. He pushed the door open from inside. "Morning," he said. "You ready?" Zyra nodded. "Yes. I hope my child won't disturb you." Jack looked at the baby. "He's quiet. That's already better than most clients." She smiled a little. Inside, the shop smelled of oil and metal, wires hanging from shelves, machines in different stages of repair. Zyra's eyes darted everywhere, so many blinking lights and unfamiliar tools. It was noisy but not chaotic. Jack guided her to a small corner. You can keep your child here. I put a cot, some toys, and a heater in case it gets cold. I don't have much, but it should help. Zaira stared at the soft blanket and the small food packs beside it. No one had ever done this for her, not even her own relatives. Thank you, she said softly. Jack handed her a cloth and pointed at a dusty table. Let's start with something simple. Cleaning this interface panel. Watch for loose wires, they bite. Zaira rolled up her sleeves and began. Her hands were unsure at first, but after a while, they found rhythm. She worked silently while her baby slept. Jack watched from behind. She was fast, careful, smart. You worked in military tech before? He asked. Zaira nodded without looking up. I was a translator between engineers of 3 species. I learned a lot. Shows, Jack said. You're better than half the guys I've hired before. By noon, Zaira had cleaned 2 panels, sorted 20 cables, and labeled old tech parts without being asked. Jack handed her a cold drink and a sandwich. She stared at it. You didn't have to. Jack cut her off. Workers don't run on wires. Eat. Zaira smiled again, just a little more this time. Outside, a customer walked in. An alien with 4 legs and thick armor skin. Is the human here? He barked. I'm here, Jack said. What's the problem? My loader unit's dead. Fix it fast. Jack nodded. Zaira, want to take a look? She froze. Me? Yeah. You've seen this model, right? She stepped forward slowly. The alien looked at her with annoyance. Why is she touching my machine? Jack answered simply. Because she's the mechanic. Zaira crouched beside the loader, opened the back panel, and in just 5 minutes said, The power relay is fried. Needs a reroute. Jack handed her the part. She installed it quickly. The machine blinked to life. The alien grunted, surprised. Huh, fast. Didn't expect that from her. Jack smiled. Maybe you should expect more next time. After the customer left, Zaira sat near her baby and sighed. I don't understand. Why do you trust me so much? Jack leaned against the wall and crossed his arms. Because I've been there. Zaira looked up. I came to this planet years ago. No one wanted to hire a human, said I was primitive. Weak. One alien gave me a chance, I never forgot that. He walked over and gently tapped the table. Now I'm giving someone else that same chance. Zaira felt warmth rise in her chest, not just from gratitude, but from something deeper. Respect. Trust. It had been a long time since she felt that. As the sun set, Zaira packed up. Her child was still asleep, full from the meal Jack gave him. Before leaving, she turned to him. I'll come early tomorrow, she said. There's a lot more I can do. Jack gave her a small nod. I know. As Zaira walked into the evening light, she no longer felt like a burden, she felt needed. And that changed everything. Whispers in the market. The market was alive with noise. Hover carts zipped through tight spaces, sellers shouted in every language, and alien spices floated in the warm air. Zaira moved quickly, carrying a small basket of repair tools in one hand and a fresh fruit snack for her baby in the other. Jack had asked her to pick up a rare connector piece from the vendor district. She had started walking with more confidence now. Her child, wrapped safely against her chest, giggled softly at the bright colors and strange sounds. This was the first time Zaira had felt free in a long time. But the peace didn't last. As she reached the vendor's stall, she heard whispers. Low, sharp, poisonous, that's her. The single mother working for the human. I heard he lets her bring her kid to the workshop. Ridiculous. She's probably taking advantage of him. Aliens like her always do. Zaira froze. Her ears burned, and she felt her heart sink. The same alien women who once ignored her now watched her with narrowed eyes and fake smiles. One of them, dressed in shiny robes, walked up to Zaira. You're very lucky, aren't you? She said with a smirk. Finding a human so generous. But luck doesn't last. Zaira didn't reply. She picked up the part and walked away quietly. But as she turned the corner, her child started to cry. He could feel her sadness. Zira hugged him gently. "It's okay. Mama's fine." Back at the shop, Zira kept working, but Jack noticed her silence. "You all right?" he asked. She nodded, but her hands moved slower. Jack sat beside her. "Want to talk about it?" Zira hesitated, then said, "Some people, they think I'm using you, that I don't belong here." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You are here, and you've done more work in 2 weeks than most in 2 months. That's what belongs." He leaned closer and said, "You know what they really hate? They hate seeing someone rise, someone they stepped on, standing taller than them." Zira looked up at him. He wasn't just saying it to be kind. He meant it. But far away in the city's central bureau, someone else was watching. A small flying drone had recorded Zira with her child inside the workshop. It transmitted the footage to a government inspector named Grolin, an alien who hated humans and weak bloodlines. He stared at the footage and sneered. "Children in a mechanical workspace, violation of Health Regulation 47. Unauthorized hybrid care in Labor Zone 9. He tapped a code. "Send an inspection team. We'll see how long this kindness lasts." The next day started like any other. Zira arrived early, cleaned the parts table, and repaired a drone's flight rotor in record time. Her baby played quietly in the corner, chewing on a soft circuit toy. But then slam. The front door burst open. 3 uniformed inspectors walked in. One carried a scanner, the other a camera, and the third, a large alien with glowing eyes, looked directly at the baby. "This place is under review for safety violations," the lead inspector growled. Jack stepped forward calmly. "You have a warrant?" The alien pulled out a glowing card. "We received a complaint. You're employing an unlicensed alien and exposing a child to dangerous equipment." Zira's heart dropped. She moved to pick up her child, but one inspector blocked her. "Don't touch the child until we complete our report." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Back off." Tension crackled in the air. The lead inspector turned to Jack. "If you don't remove the alien and her child immediately, we'll shut this shop down." Jack didn't move. Zira whispered, "It's okay, I'll go. I don't want trouble." But Jack raised his hand. "No, she's not going anywhere." He walked behind his desk, pulled out a small data tablet, and tapped the screen. A document appeared in front of the inspector's face. "Independent contractor license. Signed. Approved. And this workshop is registered as family-tolerant space. Your complaint is outdated." The inspector scanned the file, and his face twisted with frustration. "You'll regret this," he muttered. Jack stared him down. "Get out." After a few seconds, they left, muttering among themselves. Zira stood frozen, her child now asleep in her arms. You knew this could happen?" she asked. Jack sighed. "Yeah, I knew someone would try. That's why I prepared for it." Zira's eyes watered again. "Why do you do this for me?" Jack didn't smile this time. He just said, "Because someone has to stand up. And today, it was me." The truth about the human. That night, Zira sat alone on the workshop's rooftop. The stars above were dim through the thick clouds of Vorkal's sky, but she could still see a few twinkling lights. Her child lay asleep inside, wrapped safely in blankets. The shop was quiet now, but Zira's mind wasn't. Why? Why would a human, a stranger, stand between her and powerful aliens? Why risk his shop, his name, his peace? She heard the door creak open. Jack stepped onto the roof holding 2 steaming mugs. "Figured you could use something warm," he said, offering her one. Zira took the mug. "Thank you." They sat in silence for a moment. The wind was gentle. "Tonight." "I didn't grow up rich," Jack said suddenly. "Didn't have much family either. Just me and my old man. He fixed old junk on Earth. Said if something's broken, it deserves a second look before you throw it away." Zira turned to him. "And you? Do the same?" Jack nodded. "Yeah, but not just with machines." Zira lowered her eyes. That's what you see me as. Broken? He looked at her gently. No. I see someone who was left behind. But still, kept going. His words cut deeper than cruelty ever could. They felt real. Heavy. I've worked for aliens before, he continued. Some good. Most didn't care. They see humans as muscle or tools. But I see them the same way they see us, just people trying to survive. Zaira gripped her mug tighter. They called me a burden, even my own species. Said I was weak because I chose to raise my child alone. Jack leaned back and said quietly, Strength isn't about who lifts the most weight. It's about who keeps walking even when they're dragging pain with them. Zaira blinked. No one had ever told her that before. The next morning, Zaira arrived, earlier than usual. Something had changed inside her. She wasn't just thankful anymore, she felt fired up, like she had something to protect too. Jack handed her a new assignment. Think you're ready for diagnostics work? She nodded confidently. Show me. They worked side by side. Jack taught her how to trace data errors through memory boards, how to reset corrupted neural lines, and even how to bypass alien encryption locks on old tech. Zaira soaked up every word like dry ground soaking rain. But outside, trouble was brewing again. At the local merchant's hall, a wealthy alien trader named Borlek watched a display screen showing Jack's shop numbers. Business was up. Clients were returning to the human's repair bay, and many of them were former customers of Borlek Industries. How is this possible? Borlek hissed. That human was a joke. Now he's taking my profits? His assistant, a slim gray alien, bowed low. It's the female he hired, the single mother. Some say she's fixing machines faster than licensed engineers. Borlek slammed a clawed hand on the table. No female with a child should be working while I lose clients. Send someone. I want dirt. I want a reason to shut them down. Meanwhile, inside the shop, Zaira was working on a drone unit when something fell out of its side panel. It was a small memory chip, old and dusty, but still blinking faintly. What's this? She asked Jack. Jack turned pale for a moment, then took the chip gently. Something I should have erased long ago. Zaira watched as he placed it in a drawer and locked it. You were in the war, weren't you? She asked softly. Jack didn't look at her. I was part of a recon team. We saved lives, but also lost many. Zaira was silent. Jack finally spoke. I left because I couldn't take the orders anymore. We were told to ignore civilians. Even children. Zaira's voice was a whisper. And you didn't? Jack met her eyes. No, I broke orders. I saved a group of alien children from a collapsing bunker. Got discharged for it. Branded soft. Zaira felt her chest tighten. This man, this quiet, rough, kind human, had once thrown away his rank to protect those he didn't know. Now she knew why he hired her, why he helped her, because he was her. Later that evening, as the lights dimmed, Zaira stood in the doorway and said, You're not just fixing machines, Jack, you're fixing lives. Jack looked at her surprised. Then without a word, he smiled and went back to his work. But for Zaira, everything had changed. She wasn't alone anymore. She wasn't a burden. She was part of something bigger. Trouble arrives. A soft chime echoed through the shop's front door. Zaira looked up from her workbench. She was calibrating a delicate sensor unit, her fingers steady and sure. Her baby was sleeping peacefully in the corner cot, wrapped in a blanket with a small toy gripped tight. But the man who walked in didn't seem like a customer. He was tall, more than 7 feet, with dark, thick armor plating on his shoulders. His eyes were hidden behind a glowing visor, and a strange badge pulsed on his chest. Behind him stood 2 more aliens, thinner, sneering, and dressed in heavy coats that barely hid their weapons. Jack came out of the back room wiping his hands. You lost? He asked calmly. The lead alien didn't answer right away. He walked slowly through the workshop, tapping his fingers on the tables, looking at tools, scanning the shelves. Finally he turned and said, My name is Commander Borlek. I own the South Strip Tech Yards. Jack didn't flinch. Never heard, Of it, Borlek smiled coldly. You've taken 10 of my customers in the last 2 weeks. Jack shrugged. Maybe they wanted honest work. Borlek's smile disappeared. You've upset the balance. Aliens don't take kindly to humans, changing the order of things, especially not with her helping you. His eyes landed on Zira. Jack stepped in between them. She's my employee. You don't speak to her. Borlek laughed. No, human, she's a mistake, and I've come to fix it. That evening, after the uninvited visit, Jack made Zira go home early. I don't trust him, he said. If anything happens, stay safe. Take the child. I'll lock down the shop. Zira nodded, uneasy. That night she didn't sleep. She held her baby close, listening to every noise outside her window. Somewhere deep in her chest the fear had returned. The next morning the fear became real. The shop was in flames. Zira smelled smoke before she even reached the block. She ran, heart racing, only to see firebots spraying the charred remains of Jack's front wall. Sparks flew from melted circuits. Glass lay everywhere. Jack stood outside, coughing hard, his face covered in soot. Zira ran to him. Are you okay? He nodded slowly. I came early, caught one of Borlek's men trying to break in. They rigged a power cell to explode. I shut most of it down, but... He coughed again, holding his side. His jacket was torn and burned. His left hand shook. Zira looked around. The shop, your tools, everything. Jack smiled weakly. Could have been worse. You weren't here, your baby's safe, that's what matters. Zira's eyes filled with tears. But you could have died. I've been through worse, he said. Besides, I've got a stubborn engineer now. She grabbed his hand. You don't have to fight this alone. Jack looked into her eyes. Neither do you. Later. That day, while the shop still smoldered, Zira made a choice. She wrapped her baby tightly, handed him to a trusted neighbor, and returned to the ruins of the workshop. She began clearing the mess with her bare hands. Burnt metal, broken screens, cracked tools. Jack watched in silence. I'm rebuilding this, Zira said, with you. For you. For both of us. Jack walked beside her and joined in. Piece by piece, they started again. Word spread. Customers returned, not for the machines, but for the people. They offered help, credits, and even extra tools. A local, alien artist painted a message on the half-burnt wall. Strength is not species. It is spirit. But Borlek wasn't finished. In the shadows of a nearby district, he growled at the failure of the firebomb. She still stands. He still draws. Breath. He looked at a screen showing Zira repairing a large loader unit beside Jack. Time to break more than machines. The single mother who fought back. The shop was still half broken, but Zira stood inside it like it was her home. Her hands were blistered from fixing bent panels, her back ached from lifting heavy units, and her eyes burned from sleepless nights. But she didn't stop. Jack was still healing. His arm was wrapped in support straps, his steps slower than before. Yet every time Zira looked at him, she felt stronger. She had found something more powerful than fear. Purpose. Clients returned, in greater numbers now, offering small tips, old tools, even spare drones to help rebuild. Zira repaired machines faster than ever, her child in a sling as she worked, sometimes sleeping against her chest. News spread across the district. The human and the single mother who rebuilt their workshop with fire still in the air. But Borlek had not forgotten. It started quietly. First, one of their delivery bots was found smashed in an alley. Next, a supplier refused to sell them parts, mumbling something about pressure from above. Then, during one cold morning, someone threw acid across their storefront, melting the new sign Zira had painted with care. Jack wanted to report it. Zira stopped him. No, she said. This time I fight. Jack raised an eyebrow. You sure? She looked him dead in the eyes. Let's see how Borlek reacts when the one he called worthless takes his best clients. Zira woke up early the next day, dressed in a worn gray suit with tools clipped to her belt. She tied her hair back and strapped her baby to her back. Then she marched into the tech merchant's central hall. The place was massive, filled with wealthy engineers and sleek robots. Glowing walls displayed elite repair brands, and at the top sat Borlek sipping a drink behind bulletproof glass. Whispers started the moment Zira entered. That's the female from Jack's place. Single mother. How bold. She doesn't belong here. Zira ignored them. She walked straight to the public bidding panel and placed a request. Offering advanced drone repair and hybrid tech calibration, guaranteed service within 24 hours. Everyone stared. Borlek nearly choked on his drink. He stood and shouted, "She's not a licensed merchant." Zira turned. "But I am a certified engineer from the Tri-War Military Alliance. My credentials are public record." Borlek's face darkened. One of the council aliens spoke. "She's right, and she's offering faster work for lower prices." Zira smiled, calm and fearless. "I'm not here to beg. I'm here to work. Anyone who wants better service knows where to find me." She walked out, her baby sleeping peacefully. By the time she returned to the shop, her inbox was full of new requests. The next days were chaos, in the best way. Clients lined up outside. Zira led the charge, taking jobs, designing solutions, fixing complex machines that even older shops rejected. She built a name, not as the single mother, but as Zira, the engineer of fire and steel died. Jack watched her lead with pride. He repaired what he could, but he knew this was her time now. One evening, as they locked the shop, he said, "You've done more than rebuild this place. You turned it into a storm." Zira replied with a rare laugh. "Let the galaxy feel it, but storms attract lightning." Late one night, 3 armored aliens broke into the shop. They weren't thieves. They came with hammers and plasma cutters, silent and deadly. They didn't expect Zira to be awake, nursing her child and checking sensor diagnostics. She saw them before they reached the main floor. She didn't scream. She acted. She grabbed the stun rod Jack kept under the desk, hit the first attacker hard, and triggered the emergency alarm with her other hand. By the time Jack arrived limping from his room, 2 attackers were already stunned. Zira standing over them with shaking arms. Eyes blazing, the third one ran. Jack stared at her. "You fought them alone?" Zira panted. "No, I fought for us." A new future. 3 weeks had passed since the break-in. Zira had reinforced the shop with new locks, motion sensors, and a silent shield system designed by her own hands. The shop didn't just stand, it shined. The front wall now carried a new message painted in bold letters above the door, made stronger by fire. Her name was now known across 3 districts, not as a charity case, not as someone who needed pity, but as a master mechanic, a protector, a fighter, and a mother. One morning, a hover drone landed outside with a message scroll. Zira opened it and froze. Summons from the Grand Engineering Guild. She had been nominated for the Cross-Species Innovation Award, an honor usually given to elite engineers of royal houses or galactic corporations. Jack read the scroll beside her and grinned. "Told you, they couldn't ignore you forever." Zira still couldn't believe it. "But why me?" Jack said. "Because you didn't just fix machines, you fixed minds. You showed everyone that strength isn't about power, it's about persistence." The award ceremony was grand. Aliens in elegant robes, humans in pressed uniforms, giant screens displaying her work, showing her lifting wrecked drones, rebuilding tech units with a baby on her back, standing over criminals with a stun rod in hand. The host announced, "For unshakable courage, engineering brilliance, and community impact, Zira Valen, single mother, fighter, and innovator." Thunderous applause followed. Zira walked to the stage slowly. Her baby, now smiling wide, sat in Jack's arms in the crowd. He waved, and she smiled back with tears in her eyes. She spoke few words. "I wasn't supposed to be here. But someone believed in me, And now, I believe in myself. Thank you. After the ceremony, council officials visited her shop and offered to fund an expansion. You could open branches on other moons, one said. Train others like you. Zira looked around, at the walls built by her own hands, at Jack fixing a solar panel in the corner, and at her child asleep in the cot that had once been a blanket on a cold floor. She replied, I'll train others. But this place, it stays mine. This is where I was reborn. That evening, as the sun dipped low, Zira and Jack sat on the rooftop once more. The stars were brighter now, the air lighter. You really did it, Jack said. You fought back, harder than anyone I've seen. Zira smiled. I had to. I had someone to protect, and someone who stood beside me. Jack looked at her quietly. Then, after a long pause, he said, You know, I never told you. But you saved me too. Zira blinked. Me? I was just surviving before, going through days, fixing junk, living in silence. But when you walked in, everything changed. You reminded me what it means to fight for something real. Their eyes met. No words were needed after that. They sat side by side under the stars, the shop behind them glowing warm with light. And Zira knew. This was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of a future she had built with her own 2 hands. Future earned, a future shared.